Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I'm super excited to introduce a new series on my channel, maybe a mini series, but it's called The Best Of, and this is basically gonna be like a brand favorites style video. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I do a lot of favorite style series, whether it's favorite colors or finishes, and I haven't really done specific brand favorites, so I figured I can do that, especially with the Black Friday sales right around the corner. So I am going to be starting with Mooncat today because they are one of my favorite brands. I have a ton of their polishes. There's just like a handful that I'm missing from my collection. And overall, I've had a really positive experience with them. I will share some experiences that weren't so positive, just, you know, so you're aware. But obviously, this being like a brand favorites video, I am going to be focusing on the polishes that I really love and also recommend. So let's just get into it. So since I do have a lot of favorites from this brand and they have a ton of different finishes, I am going to be categorizing them by their finishes. So as always, I will have timestamps and all of that in the description box if you want to jump around. But first, I actually want to start with the nail care slash essentials that they offer. So these products are basically like my holy grails. The first one is their Getting Even Nail Primer, which is basically like a pink tinted smoothing base coat, if you will. I had actually shared this one in my nail care slash essentials video that I did a few months ago in the summer, and I mentioned not liking this one when I was trying it out, but I'm gonna chalk that up to user error, if you will, because I'm pretty sure at that time I was using an acetone-free remover, or I was like mixing it with the regular acetone that I use, and that's what was causing this to not stay on my nails. So once I switched back to my usual like acetone remover, this ended up staying. I didn't have any issues with it like not lasting long. Generally, I don't find that these like milky base coats tend to be like long wearing anyway, but I still really love this one as a smoothing base coat because it is that like pink tint. Even though I do a lot of swatches, especially here on my channel, I still love to do nail art and especially negative space nail art, but because my nails are super stained, it's not always the most flattering to have that kind of come through, and using other brands smoothing base coats that are usually like a more white or like off-white kind of milky color just gives it a weird sort of undertone to the sheer pink. So I just really love having this product as a sheer pink essentially, because you can use it as a base coat or in place of a sheer polish. It just brightens up your nails and looks really nice in my opinion. Next is my top holy grail product. This is their Speed Demon top coat, and I have used like at least 5 bottles of this. It's just the top coat that I always reach for. I remember when I first tried this one, I didn't love it because this is definitely one of those polishes that when it does get to this point, it starts to get a little goopy and stringy, but that's kind of the nature of quick drying top coats, so you need to add in some nail polish thinner to sort of loosen it back up, and it works like new again. So I just can't recommend this one enough. I especially love that it has like the wider brush in it. It just makes applying top coat so much easier, especially when it does start to get a little bit thick. You don't have to like dip back into the bottle because the skinny brush is not covering your nail. And the last essential that I love from them is their nail elixir. This I know is definitely like a pricey item. It's not necessarily like you need this, but if you were eyeing it and you're waiting for the sale, I would say this is a good time to try it out. It definitely is, again, more on that pricey side, and I'm pretty sure it's because of the marula oil, which is the first ingredient. I know when it comes to cuticle oil, jojoba oil is like the bare minimum that you need for your nails, and that alone is like super cheap. So, you know, again, if you already have that and that works for you, that's amazing. But if you do want to try like, you know, other products and whatnot, this is such a great cuticle oil. It's definitely very lightweight and has this almost like silky feel to it, so it just feels luxurious. My nails absolutely love this oil. Like, I did a little week-long maybe trial when I first got this, and I was like so impressed with how my nails looked after just 1 week. They just felt so much better and looked really great. So yeah, I really love this oil. And I'm pretty sure those 3 items were listed as a bundle. I'm just not sure how the sale is going to affect the bundle pricing. I know they kind of had like an issue with that last year, but that's available if you want to pick up all 3 or just, you know, individually, whatever. But now getting into the polishes, the first category that we're starting with is their holographics. So admittedly, I'm not the biggest fan of holographic polishes. Like, I don't go out of my way to get them and wear them often, but I still really love them. And I have 5 in my collection that I think are so beautiful and worth it. Assuming the formulas are the same across the board, you can obviously just pick your favorite color of what they offer. But 2 of my favorites from the Heavy is the Crown set are Not Today Satan and Shattered Glass. Not Today Satan I shared recently in my favorite pinks video. This is like a light pink holographic, and it has like this nice kind of yellowy, maybe shifting to green shimmer. You kind of see it in like extreme angles, but obviously if you like have the hollow flare going on, it's gonna be like hard to tell, but it's still there. And Shattered Glass is the light purple version where it also has that green shimmer fleck kind of in there, and it's just a really, really pretty detail. So I absolutely love these 2. No surprise, I'm gonna recommend a pink and a light purple, but these other 3 I still really, really love. This first one is Fake Halo, which I'm pretty sure is one of their best sellers, and it is no surprise. It is just a beautiful, really warm golden holographic. I think they describe this as rose gold, but I'm not really sure I would agree with that description. It's not really pink enough for me. Like, it just kind of looks like a gold, but I adore this one so much. It looks so beautiful on its own, or I love using it as like a gradient kind of tip with a sheer pink. It is just so pretty. The last 2 are like the darker, vampier kind of ones. This one is Boa Constrictor, which is like this dark chocolate brown holographic. You know, I'm especially loving chocolate browns for the fall. And this one is just so freaking pretty. And I don't know if you can tell again, but this one also does have like a golden kind of sheen in there along with the intense hollow finish. So it's just really pretty whether you are in sunlight or it's a little bit more overcast. I just love the extra kind of shimmer in these hollows. I feel like the last one is definitely like an even better example of that. This one is Blood Moon, where it is a super deep, vampy, like blackened red almost. And this has an intense like copper shimmer. It is so freaking pretty. I guess I would say this is probably the most unique of the holographics. Like, obviously you can find the other colors in other brands too, but these are the ones that I really like. But I would say Blood Moon and Fake Halo are probably my top 2 of my top 5. So the next category is Shimmers, which you know I am such a huge fan of. So this is kind of a bigger category for me. Sorry, I really tried to like narrow it down, but it's really hard to do that, okay? These are super beautiful and they have a really gorgeous selection of shimmers across the board. They've released some really gorgeous shimmers, especially this past year, and I really love Ghost of Hecate and Curse of Calypso from the Goddess Complex collection, which is again another collection filled with shimmers. These 2 are just so ethereal and glowy and dainty, just all of those like magical fairy vibes that I absolutely love. Ghost of Hecate is definitely more on that super sheer, like ghostly kind of look. I mean, generally all of their shimmers are on the sheer side where you're gonna need like 3 coats and you still might see some nail line. So if you're not a fan of that, then you know, you might not like this category. I would say that both of these are on the very sheer side of their shimmers, but I personally don't mind that. I think it just adds to the ethereal kind of vibe that they have. No surprise, I'm also gonna be recommending a Midsummer's Dream. This came out last year in the springtime, and it is this super dainty baby pink kind of jelly base with a really strong blue shimmer. It is just so glowy and otherworldly. I just adore these shimmers so much, especially when they have like that blue shimmer in them. You're gonna see a trend here. In a similar vein, I also really love Sabertooth, which came out just a few months ago. This one is like this really soft, powdery kind of cornflower blue with a blue shimmer. This one does dry down matte, but honestly, when you apply a glossy top coat, it looks just as sparkly and really gorgeous, so I don't mind that too much. And now these next two I know are definitely very similar to each other, like they could be cousins, you know, but I just can't choose between them. The first one is Flight of the Monarchs, which came out earlier this year and I feel like was such a standout for their catalog. It's a super intense coppery shimmer that has this really intense golden sheen to it as well. And you wouldn't even be able to tell from the bottle because that orange is so strong, but this has like a purpley kind of base. So it just creates the most beautiful contrast. It is just so insane. I feel like so many people have picked up this polish. So if you're on the fence and you're not sure, absolutely get this one. If for whatever reason you didn't like Flight of the Monarchs, you wanted something like a little darker maybe, or just more of a contrast, another one I absolutely love is Take Me to Your Leader, which is, I guess, technically like the multi-chrome version of Flight of the Monarch, but you can kind of see this one does have like a purple base in it, so I think that stands out a lot more than it does in Flight of the Monarchs, where obviously like the shimmer is so overpowering, but this one does have like that same kind of orangey glow to it, you know, like in certain angles they look like they're the same, but they are very different on the nail, and I love both of them. This next one is Sand Viper from the somewhat recent Midnight Rodeo collection. This has that same kind of coppery golden shimmer, but it's in a more like neutrally blush mauve sort of base. So I think it is just such a beautiful shade as a palette cleanser. It's like, you know, your classic elegant neutral kind of shade, but then having that shimmer just really makes it stand out and looks so beautiful. I really can't recommend this enough, especially if you want something as a neutral or a palette cleanser, but you just don't want to wear like a cream or sheer pink or some kind of jelly polish. I mean, this definitely does have a bit of a sheer formula, but it still builds up pretty nicely. I think it looks so great though, so flattering. So obviously I have a preference for the lighter kind of airy shimmery polishes, but these last three are my darker vampier ones. The first one is Rue Morgue, which is so freaking stunning. I have the old Live Love polish bottle. It is just this really deep midnight blue base with this really strong cobalt blue kind of shimmer that also shifts to purple in some angles. Like you might be able to see it on like this side a little bit. Honestly, it's kind of rare when I see the purple actually on my nails, but this is just such a beautiful finish. It almost has this like velvet kind of look to it. And this is one that also dries down matte, but I prefer wearing it glossy because it just looks so sparkly and twinkly. It is just such a stunning deep sapphire blue. I really love this one. Then the green version sort of is Access Denied, which is in a black base, but then it has this really intense green shimmer. It just looks so cool. Like I love these really deep shimmers so much. I would say that this has a slightly smaller shimmer particle than Rue Morgue, for example, but it is still so pretty. And lastly, I have Gates of Hell, which is just one of my top favorite Mooncat polishes probably ever, or at least this is the shade when I think of like Mooncat as a brand, you know. It is a really deep eggplanty purpley blackened base with a multi-chrome shift that shifts from red to gold and copper, basically like the black to red multi-chrome that you've probably seen from so many other brands, but this one also has like a little sprinkling of hollow. And the only thing I will say is that this isn't a true black either. Like I think they described this as a black polish, but when I first swatched it and swatched it again and again, it's not black. Like it's a really dark burgundy purple kind of base. But again, I really love that about it. I just love the color that it gives, where it's not like as stark as a true black, for example. I don't know, but this is another absolute staple. So next up we have the Flakies category, and they definitely have a lot of polishes in this finish. finish. Most of them are in like a jelly base, and again, I do love a lot of them, but my top picks would start with Moonfairy, which is this really soft, dainty, like lavender jelly base that's filled with these iridescent flakies that kind of shift from gold and green and blue and purple. The flakies themselves kind of have this like opalescent vibe in a way, and I think it just pairs so beautifully with the color of the base. It's just so ethereal, total fairy vibes, which I am a huge fan of. There's definitely a lot of flakies in this one too, so it kind of gives it like a crushed seashell sort of vibe with like all of them layered. So it is really dense and not as sparse as some of the other flakies I'm going to be sharing. When it comes to those more sparse jelly flakies, basically I think of like their Kaleidoscope Haze collection, which features shades like Strangeberry, Mood Ring, and Lava Lamp. I really love these three, especially like these are my top picks from that line. I was gonna say you can't really go wrong with them, but I forgot that they discontinued, I think, the yellow and the orange because those just didn't sell well. I mean, they're not really as popular anyway, but I feel like flaky wise, they just didn't stand out as much as the other polishes. Like you can see, especially in these two, I think the gold flakies really stand out in Strangeberry, and then Mood Ring has these like iridescent blue and magenta flakies, while Lava Lamp has these iridescent gold to purple sort of flakies. They're not really like showing up. Okay, you see the gold here, but this one especially looks like sea glass on your nails. It is just so pretty. The fall version of that same kind of finish though would be Stumped, which came out earlier in the spring actually, and this is like a dark chocolate brown jelly base with these glowing iridescent gold to green and orange shifting flakies. It is just absolutely magical. Like this is total woodland fairy vibes, perfect for this time of year. I just can't recommend it enough. It is so stunning. Earlier this year, Mooncat also introduced a new finish to their line, at least, called their ultra fine flakies, which are even smaller and more dense than shades like Moonfairy or Curiosity's Prey, for example, where you can still see like, you know, the base color, or you could see those like larger flakies. These ultra fine flakies really are like super tiny, so it almost borders on being like a shimmer polish in a way, but I think you can still tell that these are flakies. Either way, the first two that I have are Tectonic Shift and Catfished, and these two are just so freaking pretty. I especially love the lighter colors in the base, but also just the general color combination of these two because I find them to be especially unique. Tectonic Shift has this kind of like jade green jelly base, and the flakies are pretty pink head on here, but from my angle, I see like gold and orange. So it just has this generally warm color combination that I think is so flattering with the base color. And then Catfished is a little bit more monochromatic. There's not as many intense like shifts or anything, but it is just such a beautiful shade of this like aqua blue with like, I feel like it looks green on camera, like the shift that you see, and then I kind of see like more aqua, but a little bit of some purple in there. It is just such a gorgeous, like perfect mermaid color for the summertime. So then for my darker ultrafine flakies, no surprise, the first one I have is House of Hades. This is that super intense, like almost neon cobalt blue kind of flaky color in this really deep, sort of indigo leaning base. Like it is really dark, but it's not black. And the flakies in this just glow. Like it is intense how strong this color is. This is such an eye-catching color. It is just absolutely stunning, jaw-dropping, like leaves you speechless kind of a shade, you know? And the last one that I have is the one that I'm wearing. This is Sin Eater, and this came out in the somewhat recent Band of Misfits collection where it was like their prototypes, and I really love this one. This is like in a burgundy kind of jelly base that has the flakies that shift from red as you see it to this like coppery golden shade, and it is just so stunning. Like I love these vampy kind of shimmers. This one feels so perfect for fall and even for like the Halloween season and everything. It is just super dark, cozy, but also like a little sexy too, which I normally don't go for with my polishes. I'm obviously much more of like a cute and airy kind of person, but sometimes you're just craving that, and this one really hits the spot. Next up, we have glitters, and they don't have that many. I'm not sure if this is a finish that Mooncat plans on like expanding. I feel like the only recent glitters we've seen added to their catalog were from the Nightmare Before Christmas collection, which I do have one of them here, but the first three are older and from last year, maybe even the year before, depending on when they were released. But the first one that I have is Serpent's Hiss from the Medusa Unleashed collection. The whole collection was filled with similar glitter kind of polishes like this, where it also has a really strong shimmer going throughout it. And honestly, overall, that collection was really gorgeous. Like, you can just pick any of those polishes depending on, you know, your favorite color, but this one is mine. And it is just this really pretty lilac-y kind of orchid pink sort of base filled with these micro holographic glitters, and again, that like greenish to gold shimmer in there as well. And the shimmer really stands out in this one too. I really love that. These next two are from the Toxic Stardust collection, which I think they discontinued one at maybe two polishes from this line. But the first one is I'm a Mother Effin' Supernova, which is a gold micro glitter. And the other one is Super Clusterfck, which is this really dark green micro glitter that also, I was gonna say also has gold shimmer, but I think it's just a gold micro glitter. Either way, these are your traditional micro glitter type of formulas, so you are going to want to use like a peel off base coat with these polishes, otherwise you're going to be scrubbing forever. But I especially love these two for the holidays. Like, this is my favorite gold micro glitter. It is just super pretty. This green is so stunning too, especially with the golden glitters in here. I feel like it just makes it so festive and fun and just so beautiful. I really love these. It's really a shame that they discontinued Kiss My Asteroid, because it was like the navy blue version of these, and it was so gorgeous, like especially for the winter time. So I'm kind of bummed that they never brought back anything similar to that. I would hope that they do, but it makes me sad to think that they might discontinue these at some point. And the last one I have is Everybody Scream from the recent Nightmare Before Christmas collection. I figured I can include this one because it's still very like new and recent, and so it's gonna be available. But if you're watching this video in the future, I'm so sorry, this is probably gonna be sold out. It is this really pretty deep purple nail polish with a really strong blue shimmer, and then these super tiny holographic glitters. I just love this purple and blue color combination so much, and this formula was just so lovely. It was like opaque for me in 2 coats and super glowy, so I really love this one. So next I have magnetics, and while I only have 3, it's because I'm just personally not the biggest fan of magnetic polishes. They're just very tedious and time consuming, especially if you want to do like a full manicure. But I do think Mooncat has a lot of absolutely beautiful magnetics. Like, they have a lot in them. Maybe some people might say there's too much in them, but when it comes to my favorites, my top one is Velvet Rose, which is this really beautiful rosy pink that has this silver kind of icy pink magnetic shimmer in there. Also, these really small silver flakies in here too. It is just such a beautiful polish, whether you wear it with a cat eye effect so you can see more of that deeper like mauvey pink base. But as you probably know, I'm a big fan of wearing magnetics with a velvet effect, and I just love how this one looks. It's so soft and dainty looking. The next one I have is Beware the Kraken, and this one came out in last year's Expedition Atlantis collection, which basically features like the same finish in different colors. But this one is like a super deep, vampy burgundy jelly kind of base with this magnetic shimmer that shifts from yellow to red, and there's also reflective glitters in here too. So I know that's another maybe deal breaker for some people, but I absolutely love it. I think it is just so gorgeous, super sparkly, just overall a really unique kind of combination of colors and finishes. And the last one I have is Apollo, and this is like a really pretty navy jelly kind of base with this golden to green shifting shimmer, and there's also this holographic sparkle in there as well. This one is just like space in a bottle, and especially when you use the cat eye effect, it just looks like a galaxy right across your nail. It is just super, super pretty, and I especially love this one over Millennia because that one was a little too sheer for me. Like, it's much more of a true jelly base, and this one just builds up a lot easier. And that's like one thing that I really like about Mooncat's magnetics, is that I find that most of them are more on the opaque side, so you only need like 2 coats and you get full coverage, but you still get all of the extra shimmer and sparkle and glitters in there too. And the last category that I have are the creams, and Mooncat doesn't have like a ton of creams, but the creams that they do have I think are super stunning. The first 3 are from the Ultra Vibrance set, which is from a quad. I guess it's kind of silly that I didn't include the last polish, but it's just out of like personal preference. Like, I don't really like that color as much as I love these 3. We have Abandoned Boardwalks, Midnight Drive, and Highway Glow. And I just absolutely adore these creams so much. They look so great like on their own, but they are especially stunning either paired together. Like, this trio is super stunning. Or the way I like to use a lot of their creams is in nail art, because they are just so rich and opaque and super vibrant. They also have a Technicolor Dreams collection that was basically like a pastel collection, and 2 of my favorites are Sweet Nightmare and Paradise Found. 2 are the top 2 that I would recommend because I just feel like they are so unique for being like a periwinkle kind of purple and then this aqua teal kind of blue. These are just super opaque and creamy, so you really can't go wrong with whatever color you pick. You're basically gonna have the same experience with them. But I did want to include that as a kind of disclaimer, because with the Technicolor Dreams collection specifically, that came out early last year, like in the spring, and I remember it being pretty divisive, maybe, where some people had really great experiences with them and they were like, you know, the best formulas they've ever tried for creams, but then myself and a few other friends had very opposite experiences where they were like really thick and goopy and kind of needed like 3 coats. I've mentioned this before, I don't love when creams require 3 coats. I feel like that just shouldn't be necessary in 2023. Can be a little bit more forgiving when it's like pastels or something, but considering like the price and everything, it really shouldn't be that way. Thankfully, because they were thicker, all you needed to do was add like a little bit of thinner. That's what I had to do with some of my bottles, and they were a dream to apply, so it was no issues there. And personally, I also didn't really mind the thickness too much because I found that that helped when it came to using them in nail art, especially for like gradients, which I think is so perfect for the lineup. But even just dipping a nail art brush into these polishes, it was really nice because they were fully pigmented and opaque. Seemed like it was more so an issue for some people wanting to do like a full application of these shades, if that makes sense. But all of that being said, I know that Mooncat has like recently, within the past year, began reformulating their polishes. They've also switched out their brushes. I'm not exactly sure if they've switched out all of the older brushes. Like, again, this came out last year in the spring, so I don't know if you order these shades, if you are gonna get the new brushes. I definitely would hope so, because that would make a world of difference. New brushes have a bit more of a flattering like paddle kind of shape, but they're also less dense. Like, I feel like these old brushes were really thick, and so they held a lot of polish and it just ended up getting really messy. But again, they might have replaced them, or if not, they also do sell their replacement brushes, which I know this is like sounding like an ad. It is not. I'm just saying, like, I have seen and heard the complaints about, you know, Mooncat and their formulas and brushes and whatnot. And while I did agree with them when they were more like present and ongoing, I do want to make it clear that they like have been working on improving these things, which I really value, especially as somebody who works with them, but also as a customer too, because even though it's rare, I still do buy from Mooncat myself. So I really appreciate that they do listen to people's feedback. So I just wanted to put that out there in case you didn't know, or in case you have read things about people saying like, oh, their formulas are still bad, or like their brushes are bad. They definitely were, but I don't think they are anymore. So that wraps up the the best of Mooncat. So I cannot wait to hear what you all think of this video, or I guess like the style of video. It's definitely pretty different than what I normally do when it comes to my swatch and review videos. Obviously, I have shared a lot of these polishes already in my other favorites series, like my favorite colors or favorite finishes, but having like a brand specific video I think is also pretty helpful too, because then I can talk a little bit more about maybe like some issues that I've had with like certain formulas or finishes. Even though I generally want to keep it pretty positive considering it's the best of, I think it's still important to talk about maybe some issues that I've had as well. So let me know which brand you would want to see next. I'm gonna try my best to get these up in the next couple of weeks before the Black Friday sales happen, but we will see about that. Or just leave me any and all thoughts that you have down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.